I strongly believe that self-discipline is something that most of us struggle with, including I. So I had to read a book that says the self-discipline, and it explains that why do you want to be disciplined, how long do you want to be disciplined for, and what's the purpose of the discipline. So we are going to be diving this book into explaining each and every step on how to go about it in an effective manner. So let's get straight into the video. From reading this book, I realized that the first point or the whole concept of this book has to do with finding a why to be disciplined. Because if there's no a particular reason, if there's no a goal to be disciplined, you will hardly get in line. And a good example I myself can give is that while you were in secondary school, maybe you remember back then when you were doing inter sport for your house, there was a particular, maybe you were given 100-meter race, or you're given a particular set of track or set of portions that you had to win for your team. So you have to be disciplined to come out for sport to train yourself. So as a person in your personal life, you want to find something that is going to make you to be disciplined to take action. They said once that point has been found, the first thing that you have to do is to drop all form of excuses. Drop all form of excuses. A good example of form of excuses, you are waiting to feel the discipline before you start. He said if those excuses can be dropped, it is easier for you to stay disciplined and committed to whatever you are willing to accomplish. And the second major thing the author of this book describes saying, take action with your action plan. He said taking action with your action plan simply means preparing a plan of action. That means things that are to be done daily or things that are to be done in a particular moment. Then he said once that is done, you want to be able to prepare your plans to go well. That means if the activities they are planning to carry out is tomorrow, you want to set everything right this night or a day before to ensure each and everything goes as possible and as smooth as possible. So while making your plans, you want to be able to anticipate potential problems and find way to fix them. A good example of a potential problem is knowing that if you are going to an office or you have an office work, leaving your house maybe a minute to the time that you are supposed to get to the office is not a good plan. They are supposed to prepare errors. Now your errors can be a 15 minutes difference based on traffic, unexpected things that could occur on the road. So after that is done, the next thing you want to do is to be able to reflect back on the things that have been done. So in order to view your mistakes, so after a day is gone by, you ask that what are the things that went right for this day? Why did it go right? Okay, because I made a action plan a night before, that's why it went right. So what are the things that did not go right? Oh, I neglected to do some things and this was the repercussion. How can I improve to get those things done better? And the third major point we are going to be looking at is how to overcome temptation. And the first thing he said that we have to do is to be able to detach ourselves from the attraction. And he gave a very good example of a group of smokers. That if you have friends that smoke occasionally or drink occasionally, you want to be limiting the amount of times you visit those friends so that you can reduce the attraction. Also mention that you want to be able to envision yourself resisting the temptation even before it comes. So that builds your mental strength on its own. And he also said that you want to be able to weigh the immediate gratification with the long-term effect of whatever that temptation is. And the last one he says is that you want to be able to distract yourself in terms of looking at the things you are not missing out, but looking at the things you are gaining. And a good example is that if someone is dieting, instead of looking at, oh, I'm not going to be eating this particular meal for some time, I'm going to be missing out on my best dish, you have to look at it from the perspective of, wow, I'm adding new diet to my dish. I've not eaten this kind of meal before. It's an advantage. So that's the way to shift your mind from the current state of temptation. First major point talks about how to motivate and nurture yourself. And he said when it comes to motivating and nurturing yourself, it has to do with rewarding yourself after some certain goal have been accomplished. And they gave a very good example of someone that is trying to lose weight. So after losing some certain amount of weight, instead of you rewarding yourself with eating more, you can reward yourself with a good dress that shows that you've lost this certain amount of weight. And the second part says taking care of yourself, whereby you want to be able to regulate the amount of intake of food you eat and the kind of food you eat. So you want to be able to be taking good proteinous food and fatty food, getting enough sleep. The last and final part of this book simply explain exercises that can boost your self-confidence. And the first one that I was given is that you should learn to give up your seat. That means if you're in a public transport, for instance, or you're in a congregation of people of audience whereby you are seated and you see a old lady or old man coming and there is no seat for the person, or a pregnant woman, you should be able to give up your seat for that person to sit because of comfort. Now he also said doing your house chores immediately you see them. So I'm someone that maybe I felt reluctant to do something just because I feel I have time. And I'm very sure it's almost the same thing for everybody. So you want to be able to get things done as quick as possible. And another way to boost the confidence is making a big change to your routine. And a good example that was listed, or a good example that I'm more familiar with, is has to do with if you are someone that takes a particular drink, or you are too caffeinated, can you do without that thing for a week? If you can do without it for a week or 2 weeks, it means that you still have control over it. And the last thing he said to build a building exercise is to take the stairs instead of elevator. If it is just a limited story building, for example, let me just say 2. But if you're having 13-story building, taking the whole 13 blocks up, you can just walk 2-story building up and take the elevator. So thank you once again for watching today's video. I want to believe you gained value, and please do well to practice the stuff you are learning from here, because learning without doing is just the same thing as not learning at all. So have a nice day. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share.